Welcome to the podcast where we talk about state and national parks here on Park It. This is in episode 1, and we are going to talk about Yellowstone and why it's important. I'm Avery Nettles, and here today we have our guest, Caitlin Martin, and we will be talking about the history of the park as well as the wildlife within the park. If you love nature, park it right here and enjoy the view. Caitlin, what is your favorite national park?
Ooh, favorite? I don't know if I have a favorite, but I know Yellowstone and Yosemite probably.
Okay. Do you have like a favorite like state park?
It'd probably be Tim's Forest State Park. That's where I'm back home. That's the closest one I have. And then Cummins Falls State Park. I worked there last summer, and I will be working there again this summer as a SIR.
What is an SIR?
So those are seasonal interpreters. Start out week before you actually start at your park. You'll go out and you'll have like a whole training week at some random park. Last year it was a Chickasaw State Park over in West Tennessee. And then you go to whatever park and you do a little bit of everything, and each park's different. So like for us, we did a bunch of different programs from like animal pellets, snakes, meeting the horses, hiking, swimming and stuff. And then you also like greet them, work gift shop, trail maintenance, and just a bunch of other little stuff depending on the park and what category it kind of falls under.
Gotcha. Like what category did you like work under mostly last year?
Ours was mainly people come and just swim. We weren't much of like a program park, but some other parks have better turnout for programs and like boating events and stuff.
Because like Cummins Falls, that's where you said you worked?
Yeah.
They don't really have like much of a boating area, or
there's
not.
No way you can.
Yeah,
get
there's
down
no
there.
way.
No, you drop about 200 feet or so in elevation going down towards the waterfall itself.
Oh, wow.
So there's no way you can get anything up that way.
Yeah. So you said that you liked Yellowstone?
Yeah, Yellowstone.
Have you ever been to Yellowstone?
I have not been to any national park. I've just been to a few state parks here in Tennessee. And in Tennessee, we have now officially 57 state parks. The newest one was added in last year. And overall, there's 6,600 state parks within the United States, which covers about 14 million acres.
Wow, that's a lot of land and a lot of state parks.
It is.
How many, do you know how many national parks there are?
In national parks, we have 424 within the United States, and it's included in the states and the territories like Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. And that covers 85 million acres.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of land as well.
Oh, yeah. And the categories like I was talking about for the state parks, some for the national parks is the national, first of all, national parks. Then you have national historic sites, national monuments, national military parks, national battlefields, national rivers, and a bunch more.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize there were so many different categories of like national parks.
Yeah, there's a bunch. You can find more information on nps.gov. That's the most official website. They also have an app. And then another one that's a good resource is nationalparks.org. And that's the National Park Foundation one, which they tell you about what they do and stuff. And that one's where you can also like donate money to the parks to help keep the parks up and going.
Oh, that's really cool.
So Yellowstone was made a national park on March 1st, 1872. It is, I believe, the first national park the U.S. ever had.
I remember reading about that a while ago, about how that was one of the first ones. And I think that's like kind of cool because it's like one of the biggest ones, isn't it?
I believe so. It has roughly around 2.2 million acres.
Yeah, it's
alone.
like one of the most popular ones I know for sure because of like Old Faithful.
Oh, yeah. It has roughly around 500 active geysers.
Wow.
It has over 10,000 hydrothermal features. And this range from hot springs to mud pods to fumaroles, which are volcanic openings in the Earth's crust that emits heat and sulfuric gases. And then some of these spots can reach over 400 degrees Fahrenheit.
That is really warm.
Yeah, you don't want to get anywhere close to it.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I definitely would not recommend going swimming there.
Swimming, yeah, we're just getting close, which, I mean, the parks have it blocked off to a reasonable distance. It also has 290 waterfalls, which you can hike to probably most all And then they have roughly around 800 employees, ranging
Oh, wow.
from like maintenance men, cashiers to park rangers themselves. That is a
Yeah.
lot for a park.
That is, because I know my stepmom, she told me that once that she worked over the summer with one of her best friends in college, as she worked as a hostess in one of the restaurants there over the summer. And so they would give her like 3 days of work, 3 to 5 days of working, and then she would get like 3 days off from work and to just go and explore the park.
That ain't bad. Yeah, and that's a lot of park to explore. And they do get a lot of visitors. But did you know, a fun fact, that the Great Smoky Mountain National Park has more visitors than Yellowstone, Yosemite, and another national park combined in like a year or so?
The Smoky Mountain Park in Tennessee?
Yeah, like close to us, like, I don't know, a couple hour drive. They also have at Yellowstone a little over 2,000 different campsites spread out. And then for the animals, there is 67 species of mammals, over 300 species of birds, 16 species of fish, and more than 1,000 species of native flowers and plants.
Oh, wow.
And to name a few animals, you have the grizzly bear, black bear, bison, bald eagle, moose, Yellowstone cutthroat trout, and then northern Rocky Mountain wolves.
The gray wolves, this was back in 1995. They introduced 14 wolves into the national park to help with like revive their ecosystem after like the wildfire happened there. And so the 14 wolves started hunting the deer. And so the deer decided to avoid the certain areas where the wolves were present. And because of the lack of deer, plants started to grow where the deer used to be. And then with that came the trees, brought berries and bugs with it as well. And so then various birds returned to the park in those areas. And then with the increased tree population, it attracted other species like beavers who were extinct in the region came back. And they started building dams in the river, which attracted otters, muskrats, and other various reptiles. And then the wolves also killed the coyotes. As a result of that, the mice and rabbit population started to grow. And this attracted the red foxes, weasels, and badgers, and also attracted hawks and bald eagles as well. This population started to grow and the wolves even changed like the rivers within the park. With better balance between predator and prey came the possibility for other species to thrive. And this also increased the vegetation growth within the park and also decreased erosion, and the riverbanks were now stabilized and channels narrowed. And then because of this, more pools formed, and then the rivers stayed more fixed in their courses. So the wolves did not only give Yellowstone a huge ecosystem, but it gave them a new balance, and it also changed the park's physical geography as well too. Because they introduced 14 wolves into the park, all this stuff started to happen, and they started to see tremendous growth within the park as well as like their ecosystem changing. So now what you see now today is because of these 14 wolves that they introduced into it, and introducing these 14 wolves into the park, they wouldn't have the vegetation and like growth and animals that you would see in the park today.
Yeah, they'll also have like the deer population like overrunning other animals. It's like a check and balance. Bring in new stuff, you get new stuff, or you bring back old stuff that won't have the chance, which is pretty neat too.
It is pretty cool to see like that there is a balance between like the ecosystem and like how it's run and stuff like that. Because you always hear about people talking like, if you change one thing or take one thing out, it can drastically change how an environment is. And this is like proof of that. Like if you add in wolves or take out something, it can change how like an whole entire ecosystem, even like of a state and national park like this, is so cool because Yellowstone is like within like 3 or 4 different states.
Yeah, it's definitely unique for sure. Because you don't think, like, 14 wolves can change a lot. Then it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, speaking of the beavers and fishes and the water and stuff, that is another fun activity you can actually do there. You can do fishing, boating, of course. And you can also do hiking. They have over 900 miles of hiking trails. And they're range from easy to, like, very difficult, like, over, like, I think 1,000-foot incline. And they're very compact trails too, so they're very small. You can do 2 different things. One thing I do find pretty cool is during the day, if you're doing day hiking, you don't need a permit. But at night, you can get what they call the backcountry permits, and that allows you to stay out there for 3 consecutive nights, and you can just hike like all day for those 3 days, and you can stay at any campsite that you want during that time, and that can range from like 4 to 12 people within a group, and not a lot of places you can like do that and like stay there over the night and go hiking and stuff because of like safety concerns. But I thought that was pretty cool.
That is really cool.
I do know we have some family friends. They went out here recently. I don't believe they did the backcountry permit, but I know they enjoyed it and like, did a lot of hiking too.
Yeah, because when I went, we did a lot of hiking, but we didn't do any like hiking at night. We just did it all during the day. Because I was like 16 years old when I went, so it was years ago.
Yeah, if I was by myself, I'd probably just do day hiking. It depends on who I'm with. Depends if I would do the whole not hiking and backpacking out.
Have you ever been backpacking like at night?
No, I think the closest thing was a program. I don't remember where at, but it was a night program, and we got to see these bugs, and I can't remember what it is. It's not lightning bugs because these bugs also glow in the dark, but it was more like a green color, and they're like all over like the walls of the rocks and stuff when you go down like in this little cave entrance thing, and that was pretty neat.
Sounds really cool.
At any state park or national parks, they usually do have some form of programs ranging from guided hikes to camping out to ranger programs for younger kids or like trivia or bingo. Just anything about everything. I do know they have some fishing programs there too. So that's pretty cool to see all the different programs that they can do since they're so big and where we're at too.
Yeah, I just learned the other day, actually, speaking of that, like one of the programs that they have at Yellowstone is talking to people about like the waste and like reusing and like recycling of things. And that their Yellowstone is one of like the 13 parks, I think, 13 to 20 national parks that decided to stop using plastic within their park like entirely. And so because of that, it like helped cut down like on millions of plastic waste that we see in the United States as well as in the world. And it also helped cut down with like the greenhouse emission gases by like millions and stuff because they stopped using plastic within the national park.
Really cool.
I
did not know that. That's a big difference, like you were talking about earlier. I know working at the state parks that they hound on green life.
Mm-hmm.
So like turning off lights, reduce plastic. During training week, I did a little program over that. You had to pick an object, and I picked a mason jar, and I was like, oh, is this like a clean environment? And I was like, and then I put like cut up like wrappers and stuff, and I was like, oh, is this clean now? And just talk about how pollution is like a big deal and what you could do to like cut it down and do your little part.
Yeah, because like everything matters that you do. Because like even at national parks and stuff, they'll have like programs and things where you can learn about things like that. And one thing I found interesting was that you can go through and look at their park and see like what kind of is the most like waste that people leave behind and stuff. One of them was like cigarette butts and like wrappers from like granola bars and stuff like that you see all the time. Which it's like crazy to think about how much waste you actually see coming from national parks because you think of them as like big green environmental like ecosystems and stuff like that. But to know like even things like that can generate waste.
Yeah, you don't think the whole human part of it and what impact that we can make. But no, cigarette butts is one of the biggest things. I found that out over the summer because even at the state park, we had to pick up from the gorge, hiking all the way out and back up. And like we had anything from like clothes, towels, diapers, wrappers, and just a bunch of cigarette butts in the parking lot.
Because like you really don't think about like the waste that you produce, well, how much it affects the environment and the ecosystem until you go like to like state parks or national parks and you see that and you're just like, wow, my impact, I really do have an impact on the environment.
Or you just see like a flood happen somewhere and you just see all that trash and mess. Yeah, it's just kind of cool and like kind of impacts you, especially if you go to Yellowstone and you see all that because it's they have such a big stage and a present and everyone knows about it.
It is really neat to see that, and it's like really neat to learn about things like that and how you can be like kind of become more aware of what you're doing and more eco-friendly and eco-conscious about it and stuff. And the more we learn about it, it's like the more aware you become, and then the more understanding you have like of how much you actually do have an impact and stuff. Because most people think it's like one person can't do anything, but really you as a person can have a huge impact.
Yeah, and you can go to different parks in general, anywhere, and you could like call them, be like, hey, I have a group and we want to just like clean up or pick up, and they'll allow you to do it. Or
Mhm.
if you need volunteer hours, that's a great way to do it too. Because
Yeah.
we had a group of formal military personnel, and some of their wives came to our park, and we took them down to the gorge because that's what anyone do. They did a morning swim, morning hike before park even opened, and then came back up, and then they started picking up trash, and they had quite a bit. They went, of course, we mainly try to stay on the trail and close to the trail, and they went like out of the trail and into the woods and stuff, but it was like a lot that they brought back, and it's just amazing how much you can just find anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah, and that was like even locally. That was like here in Tennessee. You can find all that stuff even, and it's just crazy to think about because I mean, most people don't think about that on an everyday level. So, what did you like enjoy most about working within your state park?
The people, the coworkers, because you always worried like, oh, I don't know these people, am I gonna fit in, whatever. And it was actually a lot of fun. We had made a lot of memories. We took like a regular golf cart. We took the top off, all the railings off, and then we pumped the governor up, so now it just flies. We have a side by side that we like to mess around. I had it one time. One of the other SIR with me, she would like hang out on the side. I rode a horse there.
Oh wow!
That was the first time riding a horse by myself, so that was interesting. We did have a fox, however, it died because of a
Aw.
broken leg. But we now have some type of owl, I do believe. I think we finally got it to the park. One of its wings is messed up and he can't fly. So therefore he can't go back into the wild and he has to stay. So we're going to use him for programming purposes and bring awareness and show little kids, because the kids love the see the owl
Yeah.
and the snakes, because we had 3 snakes. And I became best friends with her. Name was Virginia. She was our pond snake.
Oh, that's really cool. So, like, you enjoyed like the animals and like the nature that you saw within your state park.
Yeah, the gorge was kind of fun most of the time. The people weren't too bad when I was down there. Sometimes you have some people that won't listen to you, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I helped rescue a few people
Oh
in the
wow.
water, because we have this one little rip area that not a lot of people know about. And we like blow the whistle and be like, hey, move out of the way. One couple was a firefighter, and I do believe his wife was a nurse. So that was pretty cool.
That
So you
does
wanna
sound
see
really
that.
neat. Well, thank you so much for coming to talk to us here on Park It. And we will be back again to talk about another national park and state park next time on episode 2. This is Avery Nettles with Caitlin Martin here talking about Yellowstone National Park here on Park It.